Welcome to Section 420, Talkin Yankees. Well, baseball's just 60 feet away and just about to start. I'm going to bring back our old friend BX Bomber 2011 to discuss that. But before that, some final news to close out the offseason. So what's the story with Trevor Story? Well, he was the last big name free agent out there. Of course, they were talking about possibly Seager, possibly Carlos Correa, and of course, Story was kind of that third big shortstop free agent out there. And of course, the Yankees didn't get any of them. So Story ends up with the hated Boston Red Sox, signs a 6-year deal for $140 million. And, it didn't seem, again, you didn't hear any news that the Yankees really had any strong interest in them, so it's not really a shocker. And, of course, now it adds to Boston's lineup, which is pretty loaded as it is. And, of course, now Story, technically he's a shortstop. Of course, the Red Sox have Xander Bogaerts there, so very most likely now you're going to see a situation of Story move into second baseman. And, again, Red Sox going to be pretty heavy up the middle there. Again, Bogaerts, a darn good player himself. And, people might say, well, Story, he's leaving Colorado, and of course, we know the whole situation with the mile-high air out there, and usually it pads your stats. Maybe he won't be as good outside of Colorado. That remains to be seen, but of course, as we know, Fenway Park, the Green Monster, very friendly for right-handers, so would expect Story to put up a lot of stats there. And of course, we always see with our own DJ LeMahieu. Again, he was a Rocky for a number of years, and he left Colorado, and he was just as good, maybe even better. So, I think Story will be good for the Red Sox. But again, I just don't think you just didn't hear any situation where the Yankees had any strong interest in him, nor I think he was really that necessary because, again, the Yankees had plenty of right-handed power as it is, so I don't think it made too much sense to bring him in. So just hopefully, he doesn't do too well up in Boston. And the spring training for the Yankees was going to be very important for a couple of starting pitchers, kind of getting back into the fold. And that was going to be mainly Luis Severino as well as Jameson Taillon. Again, Taillon coming back from that little weird ankle blood platelet surgery procedure he had. Again, he was able to pitch the last regular games of the year, but again, wasn't able to be utilized after that and they had to shut him down. Rehab during the season, and it got affected a little bit because during the lockdown he wasn't able to use the Yankees facility, so he kind of had to rehab on his own a little bit. But so far in spring training, been pretty decent, so that's a good sign. As well as Luis Severino hasn't been great with the control, but at least the arm strength there. You don't see any injuries. You remember when he tried to come back a couple of times in 2021, he had a bunch of setbacks. Not really seeing that so far yet. So far, not to say, we're out of the woods yet with him, but at least with those two, at least in terms of an injury, so far, no big, issues there. So, it's a good sign for the Yankees. So, they're going to have to baby them the whole way. There's going to be a lot of inning limits, and maybe at some times during the season, they'll go to 6-man rotation. They might skip them a while and start a Michael King instead. They're going to have to baby these guys all the way. But again, in terms of those two pitches, so far, so good. And as we discussed a couple of episodes ago when we had on a guest, John Brophy, who covers the Tampa Tarpons, the low-A affiliate for the New York Yankees. They're going to have Rachel Balkovich, again, the first female manager for both the minors or majors. Unfortunately, had a little bit ouch moment, took a line drive, foul ball off the face. Pretty gruesome pitcher. But fortunately, looks like she will be okay overall. No major damage there, but again, a little scary there. And again, just and we've seen this also with fans. They're trying to put up nets and stuff with just a lot of these line drive hits, just going into the stands and hurting fans. And now it's a situation where hurt the manager of a baseball team, who you'd think of all people would be kind of aware of that. But again, seems like she'll be okay, nothing too devastating. But she's going to have a black eye for a while. And as mentioned in the previous episode, Yankee fans are grumbling a little bit that, Hal Steinbrenner and Cashman kind of be cheapboys a little bit. And, of course, it hurts a little bit more when you look across, the river at the Mets and you see Steve Cohen and spending money and bringing in Scherzer and all of that stuff. And, of course, the Yankees whiffing on all these big, shortstops, Seager, Correa, and Story, now the latest one. Well, it all kind of makes sense now. Now you're hearing the story that Cashman put it out there that they can at least make an offer to Aaron Judge before and he's going to have a decision before the start of opening day, whether he wants to accept it or not. And it kind of all makes sense. I always feel like they were going to keep Judge, and part of the reason why they probably weren't going to spend money on these other players is because they probably need a boatload of money in order to retain Judge. So, it all makes sense that way, and I think if it does happen, I think Yankee fans will then be a little bit more understanding and not stop calling, Hal Steinbrenner cheap, which I don't think that was the situation. I just think that it made sense that they were looking to retain Judge, and it's good news now. Again, we'll see how this happens, but the way as Cashman described it is that they're going to make an offer, and then after that, before opening day, put the pencils down. So Judge will have a decision to make. We'll see what happens there. But at least, Cashman is kind of setting a deadline here, and he's going to say, all right, the ball's in your court. Here's an offer, and let's see what Aaron Judge does with it. And that brings us to our guest. Now, you've seen him on the show before. It's BX Bomber 2011. He's a vlogger. He goes to a lot of Yankee games. He vlogs during batting practice, during the game, after the game, and he's back on the show now to give us his thoughts just before opening day starts. Hey, welcome back to the show.
Hey, thank you so much for having me back, man. It's been a while, man. It's been a while, but thank God the lockout is over and we can see baseball again. You know what I mean?
Yeah, we're getting a little worried that it wasn't going to even have any baseball at all. And of course, now again, people can follow you on Instagram as well as Twitter, BX Bomber 2011, as well as on YouTube. Just type in BX Bomber 2011. For a lot of games, I think you do like a little vlog insert of before the game when you arrive there, and then sometimes you have updates during the game. Just being like a fan in the stands. So for people who can't make the baseball game, you could kind of give them that experience. Even if they're sitting home on the couch, like, hey, this is what it would feel like right now after that home run by Glaber, for example.
Yeah, you know what? A lot of the people that watch my vlogs from Yankee Stadium are out-of-towners. People who used to live in New York, Japanese baseball fans, Chinese baseball fans. I mean, people in Africa watch my vlogs from Africa. So, I mean, baseball is something that is hopefully can return as a fever, if you understand what I'm saying, because baseball has lost that fever during the pandemic and then with the lockout. And like nobody wants to be a baseball player anymore. So I'm trying to bring back that feeling that, man, I want to see baseball, So hopefully I can, achieve that. I think majority of the fans that go to Yankee Stadium are out of town people, tourists, majority. So I guess for Yankee fans to come back into the stadium, they would need travel and tourism to come back to the city. That would be greatly needed if they want a sold out stadium per se. You know what I mean? So I think it could happen this year. I mean, I don't see why not. The Yankees have a great team. They have a great lineup. I mean, as long as they play and hit, the Yankees are capable of going anywhere, I think, in my opinion. So I'm looking forward to a great season, man. I think it could happen, man. I mean, like I told people before, 1996, we lost Tony Fernandez. Everybody thought the Yankees was over and the Yankees weren't going anywhere. They got this young shortstop, Derek Jeter, that he was horrible at the time. Nobody wanted him. And look, they went to the World Series and win. So, you got to remember, the impossible is always possible. So, yeah.
Yeah, and even hit a home run his opening day in '96. And a lot of times I see when you go to the games, you go for a lot of the bobblehead dolls and special giveaways. Did you see the whole, now they're going to have for John Sterling and Susan Waldman? I mean, are you going to be there for that bobblehead day?
Yes, that's going to be mandatory, man. Also, Elston Howard, Andy Pettitte, and there's another one. I forgot there was another one. But yeah, there's going to be some good ones, man. I actually got to go to a game last year at Citi Field. And let me tell you, man, Citi Field has greatly improved. From the first season I went there, the inaugural season in 2009, I mean, as you go into Citi Field, it looked like any team could play there. They didn't have anything Mets, no pictures of Mets, nothing Mets. It looked like you could put a Yankee symbol up and you would think that the Yankees played here. You know what I mean? But now they really have it nice with all kind of Met stuff. And the Mets have these wonderful these wonderful places to buy food, especially in center field, and have these nice places to eat and stuff like that. And they actually have a salad bar and condiment stations and all these things that Yankee Stadium would never have. You know what I mean? So it's like I always laugh with Roger, the big Yankee fan. He's on you know him, and we hang out together. And I tell him, Citi Field is like family environment, as you would say, right? You go to Yankee Stadium, it feels like watching a game in Central Bookings. You know what I'm saying? With all the cement and all these things around, I feel like you're watching a game in Bookings in the Tomb somewhere. You know what I mean? And then with all the crazy people walking around. You feel like you're standing on a subway platform. You know what I'm saying? So it gets kind of wild, man. But Yankee Stadium, all in all, it's still the best stadium. I don't care what anybody says, but they got some work to do, Yankee management. And let me tell you, my thing is trying to bring back baseball. And the only ones that can do it, I believe, is Yankees, man. You know, the Yankees got to do it. So,
yeah, I've been saying that for years at the City Field. That's one thing they do better than Yankee Stadium is the food, just the different options and the way the layout is in that regard. So yeah, that's like the one time I'll tip my hat to the Mets. Other than that, yeah, but overall I do like Yankee Stadium. Just the fact that you can just walk around anywhere and you can still watch the
yeah.
game and not really be, whereas City Field, like, if you go through the hallways, then you can't really see the field anymore. And it's like, you got to rely on watching the TVs.
Yeah, it's true. Yankee Stadium has, like you said, Citi Field is more family oriented, but Yankee Stadium, it has the views. I mean, anywhere in Yankee Stadium you go to has a perfect view of the field. Citi Field, it's not really like that. You don't really have perfect views like Yankee Stadium does. You know what I'm saying? Yankee Stadium is more spread out, but you can see the stadium and everything around you 360 wise, if that makes any sense. Citi Field, you're covered by the upper decks. You know what I mean? So it's like you don't have that 360 view like Yankee Stadium is. You know, and it feels a little smaller, Citi Field too.
Yeah.
The way it's portioned.
So now, obviously, talking about this upcoming the season right now, right at our doorstep, 2022. What's your initial thoughts on this, the Yankee offseason, in terms of this Cashman, the moves he made? Are you disappointed that they didn't bring in like Carlos Correa or didn't bring in Trevor Story? Like, what are your thoughts on that?
Well, I'll tell you, Carlos Correa was never going to be a Yankee because he dissed Derek Jeter, saying that he didn't deserve those Gold Gloves. So I don't care who you are. If you're gonna disrespect the greatest Yankee we ever had, you ain't gonna play on this team. I don't care what you do. So I think that's what the Yankees felt like too. I think they could have got Correa. If he never would have said that, he would have been on this team. But I think what they did with Donaldson and Isaiah on shortstop, I think that's a great turnout. The kid Isaiah, he has a Gold Glove at shortstop and third base. So I think they got Donaldson just for a year, temporary. If you want to say, if he flakes out, they can get a third baseman or a shortstop. You know, they can play that role. But then you got DJ LeMahieu there. You got Gabe Torres there. Then we got Anthony Rizzo back, So hopefully the defense is there. That's like I always say, the number one thing in baseball is defense. Defense is first before offense. So if they can catch the ball, make the double plays, get out of the quick innings, 1, 2, 3 innings, that's what they need. And they can get by in this season. I really think the Yankees can actually get by with this team. And you know what? The rotation, it's questionable. Okay, it's questionable. Can Nestor Cortez pitch the same way? Maybe. Can Severino pitch like he did before? He could. And Montgomery, he's solid. He's already proved himself that he can last the whole season. And we got Garrett Cole. So, and he's the head of the train. So, the Yankees just have to play. I don't see the Yankees failing at all with the extended playoffs as well. The Yankees have to be a playoff team, I think, right off the gate, in my book.
I feel the same way. No, I think they are definitely a playoff team. Again, I just think there are just some questions with the starting rotation. Again, just because, like I said, Severino, can he be? He hasn't been a starter in like 3 seasons, really, but I think he'll be okay. Cortez, all right, got to prove you could do it for more than 1 year. And of course, we got Taillon, who's coming back from the ankle issue. It's looking pretty decent so far in spring. So again, hopefully we can get him for a full season. And he was pretty decent last year. Nothing crazy, but he was all right. And I think he'll be just as good or maybe even a little bit better.
I think I really want to root for Severino because Severino played 7 games in 4 years. It's mind blowing that he only did that. So I think he might be the comeback story of the Yankees this year. I'm hoping that he is. So I think Severino's going to be the guy. He might become the ace all over again. Who knows? He might be number 1 and Garrett Cole might be number 2 by the ending of this year. And everybody's going to be like, oh my God, who would have thought?
No, he
You
has the
know?
stuff. If he pitches like he did in 2018 and 2019, he definitely could. His fastball is just as good. So it's just, I think he's able to build up the arm strength that the last entire season, though. That's the only, the trouble spot.
Yes, that is one thing. I think maybe even I don't know if the Yankees will ever make a 6-man rotation, but I think the Yankees should do a 6-man rotation if they can bring another pitcher in. But I think they can survive. And also they're gonna use Aroldis Chapman in the 8th inning roles now. And as because if he's not able to close the game, they're gonna use him in the 8th innings and stuff like that to shut down the game. So I mean giving guys more roles as well, I guess helps the team. But also a question is Aaron Hicks, but he looks fine in spring training. So I think the Yankees have a team, man. I don't have a doubt. I don't really have a doubt. I don't see any flaws only in catching right now.
Yeah, we're a
Because we
little
lost.
light there. I mean, Higgy's okay, but we've seen him play full time last season. He was like a 150 hitter. So, I mean, you want the defense, but yeah, I mean, I think Cashman might bring someone in just to create a little more competition next. I think, with the bat though, we all, even though he's okay, but I think we need a little bit more offense in the catching position.
Yes, we do. But but you know what? I'm okay with Higashioka as the catcher because he can hit, he can slap the ball. So, and that's what the Yankees need. They don't need a home run hitter. They just need a guy to slap the ball and get that guy around second to third at least. Things like that, get the merry-go-round going, and they'll be all right. I'm really sad to see Urshela go. And I thought he was, I thought he was a great player for the Yankees. He was a good third baseman, but you know, sometimes things have to happen, man. And I always say, are you a fan of the team or the player? And personally, I'm a fan of the team. So players come and go. It's a revolving door. We here to win the World Series no matter what. So whatever it takes, I guess, that's what Cashman has to do,
Yeah.
So
I think a lot of Yankee fans were kind of sad to see him go. Again, he was a great pickup. He was kind of like this guy that no one expected to be good. And he was actually a good player for the Yankees for like 2+ seasons. But, I guess you had to include him in that trade because he's not really making much money. So another team would want him. And again, if you want to get talent, you have to give talent. And same thing with Luke Voigt. It's like, he was a good Yankee, but there's just no room for him. And you just got to get him off the roster because where are you going to put him?
yeah, Luke Voigt, he's accident prone. I don't believe he was gonna last the season. He was gonna eventually get hurt and be on the disabled list and stuff like that. I think we could have kept him as a DH and have Anthony Rizzo there as the dominant first baseman and have this kid DHing. But then again, we have so many guys that can hit home runs on this team. We don't really need him at this point in time because he's gonna get hurt. Hopefully he does well over there. But the Yankees just have to stay healthy, man, at this point in time. Now you're getting a healthy DJ LeMahieu because LeMahieu had a hip problem. Was it a hip problem last year?
Yeah, well, it was the hip towards the end of the season, but then they're thinking he might have been dealing with a hernia issue the whole season. So yeah, he had like a few mystery illnesses there, but definitely that last game of the season he couldn't play because in Fenway because he had the injured hip.
Yeah, exactly. So now you're getting a healthy LeMahieu, a rested team. So I mean, at this point, and then you're gonna get a healthy Aaron Judge, a healthy Giancarlo together. You know what I mean? I mean, wow. From on paper, it looks amazing. You know what I mean? And the way they're playing in spring training, they're looking well. I mean, even though they're losing the games, yeah, we get it. But even though those games don't matter, but it's what they're doing and how they look and how they're doing it. I think they're doing well and making progress, man.
And another thing with also last season, we never really got to see the full team too often, just because like for example, they brought Rizzo in, like he played a few games, and then because of COVID, he had to be shut down for 10. I don't think we're gonna see that too much, where like players are gonna have to be shut down for 5 to 10 days because of COVID. So we could finally see this full team again with those players, including Gallo as well, and as well as Hicks again, who we didn't have last season. You have that whole lineup. Like I said, yeah, they'll have their off days, but I think that's gonna put up a lot of offense.
Yes, true, very true. And I really wonder how they're gonna treat the unvaccinated players as well, because I don't know if they're still gonna test for COVID for the games. And if they do, I know as a city worker, I'm a city worker, and if you get COVID, you only have to stay out for a day or something like that, right? Or not at all. A player, or well, none of us have, all of us are vaccinated, but a player that's not vaccinated and he tests positive for COVID, I wonder what are they going to do with that? Are they just going to let him play, or are they going to give him a day off? Does he have to take 5 days off, or is the COVID thing over? I hope it's over, because that was the worst thing that ever happened to baseball, is that whole situation with the testing, and guys have to sit out just because they failed the test. So it's like, hopefully that's over, and that don't destroy us, because that's what's going to destroy us if that's still on. So hopefully not.
Yeah, because again, it's shot because then you have to send the guy down. You have to call up someone from the minors. So I don't know if they've put out an official like wording on how they're going to handle that. If I had to take a guess, maybe it's like 5 days that you just got to stay away from the team for 5 days, and then you could come back, kind of like what they did with Omicron, when like everyone had it, including myself, but like I had zero symptoms. So it's like, all right, just stay away for 5 days and come back. So if I had to guess, that's probably how they're going to handle it.
Right. I'm assuming that the COVID testing will be over, and you have to understand how powerful Major League Baseball is with these executives. Because how did they go to the mayor's office of Mayor Eric Adams of New York and give him an offer that they can't refuse, and he takes away the mandate of being vaccinated for pro athletes and performers. So I don't know what they did. I don't know how. I don't know who did it. I have to know these guys. I want to know who these people are. I want to be their friends, because that's powerful, man. I don't know how they did that, and that's super powerful to do that in a day. I mean, look, it took them how long to do this lockout? 3 months, right, to get a contract done, and they just walk into the mayor's office and tell the mayor end the mandate, and he ends the mandate. So
Yeah,
that's how powerful
they probably use the
baseball.
argument that, hey, it's going to be, it's an out, because both Citi Field and Yankee Stadium technically outdoor stadiums. So I'm sure maybe they pulled that angle a little bit, and probably to say, hey, look, if you want to generate revenue for the city and stuff like that, you need Aaron Judge there out in right
Yeah.
field. So maybe they went that angle, and maybe they hooked them up with some good Yankee seats, some season seats behind the dugout, Rudy Giuliani's old seats. So maybe we'll see Adams at some games possibly. And also now this season, during the lockout, they weren't sure if they were going to do the ghost runner at second base or go back to the old rules of just play until someone wins. What do you prefer? Do you like the ghost runner at second base rule, or you just kind of like the old school way of going 20 innings if you have to?
I'd rather go the 20 innings if you have to, because what's happening is you're stealing free baseball from the fans. You know what I mean? So, okay, we go 9 innings, it's tied. That's free. As soon as we go into the 10th inning, what does John Sterling say? What does Michael Kay say? Free baseball, right? We got free baseball. So, I mean, that's when it really gets fun, and like you're tired, you want to go home, and then it's a play can almost happen to win the game, and they get you excited, and that's a real good feeling, man. So I'm happy that they don't have the runner on second anymore. And another thing that I like about the rule changes is making the bases bigger, because there's been a lot of accidents at first base. I don't know, like, guys running into the first baseman, and slipping on the bag and stuff like that. So hopefully, maybe because it's bigger, maybe it's more safer. I don't know.
Well, I think they're going to do that because they want more stolen bases because obviously it's easy to steal a base if you have more room to grab onto it. So it's going to be more stolen bases, more stats. I think they're trying to bring back small ball to the game. That's why, because the stolen base is kind of like a relic now in baseball. So they figure, all right, if the bases are bigger, we get more stolen bases, then more hit and runs, stuff like that. I think they just want more action on the bases versus what we have, in recent years, which is just walk through on home run, walk through on home run. I just think it creates a little more small ball. But yeah, it's a good point. It is safer for first baseman, so we have so many broken hands and wrists of players colliding. I also want to ask you about is that they're going to experiment it in the minors this year, but next year they say they're going to get rid of the shift. I mean, do you like the shift, or you think we should go back to the old school of when we had no shifts?
Yeah, man. I don't think they should be shifting anyway. I think they should just play straight up. But the new rule is that they can't leave the dirt or something like that. So I think it's fine, but it's still a shift, though, in my opinion. Either way they do it, it's still they're still shifting in some type of way. So they can still take away a base hit, if they calculate it right, because they have all these StatCast and analytics, so they know where to position players anyway. So I don't think the shift matters, but I would like to see it gone,
No,
though.
I agree. And it has hurt a lot of players. And I think, again, just going back with the bases, it's for creating more offense. So, because you look at, I'm sure you remember like Mark Teixeira, he used to be a 300 hitter. And then once they started doing the shift on him, he dropped to like being a 220, 230 hitter. And again, it almost makes for boring baseball because you just have, these pitches just going, going through these lineups like nothing. And the score is like 0-0. And it's like, I just think they want to attract more fans to the game. They figure, yes, bigger bases, getting rid of the shift will just create more offense and more action. So, like you said, bring more fans to the game.
That's true, man. And it feels like when they do the shift, doesn't it feel like you're watching a softball game all of a sudden in Central
Yeah,
Park?
it's like
It's
not
like, come
natural.
on,
Yeah.
bro. Like, what is this, the beer league or something? Like, come on, play for real. Let's play for real. If a guy hits it in the gap, let him hit it in the gap and go run after it and throw it back in the second. You know what I mean? Let's get some runs on the board. But man, that shift has killed the Yankees, man. Period. I mean, every player the Yankees ever had, they shifted on them and they have done nothing. So it's like, hopefully that can turn around now somehow, and they can get some hits.
All right. So, I think we're on the same page. I think, the Yankees are going to have a good season. I don't know if they'll be the AL East champs. I mean, there's sort of a way to go there, but I think they'll definitely be in the mix there come October. So, again, BX Bomber 2011. People can follow you on Instagram, Twitter, as well as on YouTube. Check out your videos. I'm sure you'll be down in the stadium a lot. Appreciate having you. And again, once you get that John Sterling Susan bobblehead, you definitely have to post that right away.
Yes, I definitely will, man.